I'm Garrett Oliver, Brewmaster of Brooklyn Brewery, and you're watching Høyt Skum TV.
Hallo og velkommen til Høyt Skum TV, Norges mest engasjerte ølshow. Mitt navn er Nidar, og I dag en liten spesialepisode om Brooklyn Brewery. I forrige uke hadde jeg gleden av å møte Garrett Oliver, Brewmaster hos Brooklyn Brewery, en av verdens mest karismatiske ølpersonligheter. Jeg var sammen med en god del andre herlige ølfolk rundt om I Norge. Vi traftes da I courtesy av Ringnes, som da importerer Brooklyn Brewery til Norge. Dessverre bestemte kameraet mitt seg for å ikke ta opp noen ting av det Garrett sa og gjorde I et litt eksklusivt intervju vi fikk vi norske ølbloggere. Men vi har heldigvis fått tak I lydfil, takket være Tom Young hos Kjempetorsken. Så dere får nå en podcast og et opptak fra selve seansen, med litt bilder av det hele. Så, til neste gang, husk, drikk forsvarlig, drikk godt og høyt skum.
And this is actually my first trip to Norway, so you know it's terrific. Sigrid was nice enough to show me some parts. She was playing tour guide earlier today, showing me around parts of town, etc. And hopefully this evening we'll get a chance to talk about a bunch of things. For me as a brewer, it's been fascinating watching over the last 20-something years the huge change. Not only in the beer culture in the United States, but also as somebody who travels to see the change in people's perception of the United States and brewing. Because when I first started traveling around, of course, and you would say to people, well, I'm an American brewer, and they say, yeah, well, we've heard of your American beer, you know, and of course, you know, that was the American beer that they were thinking of was not the American beer that I was thinking of. But well, sort of like you say, yeah, I'm an American chef, and they say, yeah, we've had your food at McDonald's. Like McDonald's is down at the corner, and yeah, we kind of understand American food. What I think people don't really realize is that the United States at one time, or I'll take it even smaller than that, I would say New York, at one time had the most interesting food culture in the whole world. We're a nation of immigrants. If you were on the street in 1900, you would have heard 100 languages spoken. Everybody came from everywhere, and they brought their food with them. So people moved from everywhere from Mexico. People came from Africa. They came from the Middle East. Many came from Scandinavia. And in fact, there's still a Norwegian neighborhood in Brooklyn, believe it or not. So, and you know, these things were not remnants at that time. They were, people really stayed in their own neighborhoods. The area where the brewery is, Williamsburg in Brooklyn, was completely German-speaking in 1900. And in that year, we had 48 breweries in Brooklyn. And they brewed 10% of all the beer in the country. So Brooklyn was actually one of the great brewing capitals of the world. And we had every kind of beer. You had breweries that made nothing but Weiss beer, breweries that made nothing but porter. Leaving aside perhaps lambics, every style of beer was being produced within New York City itself, and certainly among the 4,000 breweries that we had in the United States. And somehow, over the course of the next 40 or 50 years, we managed to lose everything. Not only did we lose our beer culture, but we lost our food culture at the same time. And I think there are a number of reasons for it. It's all relatively complicated, but there was a special thing in the United States that after 2 world wars, Americans all wanted to be the same. Nobody wanted to be an Italian American or a German American or this American or that American. They just all wanted to be American. And they were told by the people on the television that the way to be American was to wear the same thing, think the same thing, eat the same thing, and drink the same thing. And with television and radio, and now an international highway system, or a national highway system rather, you could actually deliver this beer to people and sell it to them with huge amounts of advertising. And what you didn't need anymore was anything in the bottle. Because after 12 years of prohibition, 1920 to 1933, they figured, well, people are going to be willing to drink just about anything. So that's what we got. And by 1974, we had basically the so-called American lager, which is reminiscent of the so-called American cheese. If you don't know what it is, go to McDonald's, it's on the burgers. It's that yellow stuff. Many people, they send the beer, but we actually show up. Yeah. You know, which I think makes a big difference, you know, in either direction. I mean, our philosophy about selling the beer is that if you don't want to hang out with us, then you can't have the beer. Okay. You know, I mean, so you can't just send us an email and say, you know, here's a check, you know, or a wire, you know, wire you some money and please send me however many pallets of whatever. It doesn't work like that. You know, and if we don't like you personally, you still can't have the beer because we're going to come over and we're going to hang out and we're going to do stuff and you're going to come and do stuff with us, and you know, if we don't like spending time with you, then it's just like, well, who can be bothered?
Tried anything from Homebryggeriet? Because they do some experimenting with sour ales.
Yeah, actually, and probably I think I'm going to have one of their beers at an upcoming tasting, because I took over. There was a tasting that Michael Jackson used to do for National Geographic every year, and he always had a theme. And so Michael asked me to take it over, you know, in his last years, and so it's a long-standing tradition, and I want to keep it going at the same kind of level. So it's 400 people, and these are like the geekiest beer geeks you've ever seen. So, I mean, you know, you tell them, you know, you have some beer, and it's like, oh yes, I spent a weekend brewing there. They're all, you know, they've seen everything. So this year's theme is, you know, breweries under, you know, 1,000 barrels, which would be, you know,
it's gonna be
about.
Easier,
yeah. So, but getting these beers, I mean, a lot of them aren't really. They're either not available or barely available in the United States. Brooklyn Lager is 50% of our overall, you know, production.
Who buys it?
Everybody buys it. You know, Brooklyn Lager is, you know, it's funny because Brooklyn Lager, when it came out, you know, 1980s, you know, it was an outlandish beer, you know, but now it's almost, I don't know any other beer that tastes like Brooklyn Lager. I've never had a beer and say, hey, this tastes kind of like Brooklyn Lager. I think it's kind of a unique tasting beer. But, you know, it's a full flavored beer. It's 5.2%. It's all malt. It's, you know, 32 IBUs. And it has a very, you know, it's dry hopped. It has a very distinctive flavor to it. So the fact that this now is something that college students have in the refrigerator all the time, you know, that's what's terrifying to people like Anheuser-Busch, because you know, they would think that if you're 22 years old, you're going to start, at least you're going to start with them, and then you're going to move eventually to us. Well, what happens to them when you start with us and you also move up with us? You know, this is highly problematic, which is why they bought Goose Island. I think they want to. They're saying, if we don't own a company like this, we can't understand what the hell these people are doing. So they've quietly bought some others too.
But talk about doing whatever needs to sell the most. What do you think about the Goose Island and Anheuser-Busch?
Well, you know, Goose. I mean, they're good friends. You know, the Halls are good friends of mine, and I wish them well. They are now rich. So, you know, all I can say is, like, you know, I've been brewing for 20-something years as well, and I'm not a millionaire, so, you know, I don't know, maybe they're the smart ones, but yeah, Goose Island was a little bit pregnant for a long time, you know, and I think that, you know, I'm not,
way to say it.
Yeah, I'm not even slightly surprised, you know, but, you know, I think, you know, I think they were personally, I think, hurt by the reaction by, you know, some people in the community about, you know, being partially, you know, whatever, however you want to say they were partially owned by Anheuser-Busch, but, you know, clearly they were, you know, and, you know, they're pretty proud guys, and but, you know, you're going to end up, if you're in that situation, you know, it is what it is. You can't say that you didn't make this deal.
But do you think will it happen more?
Oh, it'll definitely happen more. You know, I mean, every major brewery is asked to buy us, for example, but we're just not interested. You know, and it's not going to happen. But certainly they're going to go around. You knock on enough doors, and you know, come with a bag of money, like, hey, want to be a millionaire? You know, you know, some guys are going to say, no, 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 yes. You know, I mean, come on, it's, you know, it's not, a big bag of money is a big bag of money.
Yes.
You know, you're always going to find some guy to take it, so. But the question is, what will they do with it?
Yeah, well, what do you think will happen with the brews of Goose Island with
I almost think that they have bought, you know, they're buying these breweries almost to try to understand the culture. Because I think that, you know, they're not stupid people. You know, they see this segment, industrial beer, going down by 1 or 2% every year. At the end of this process, they die. The brewery, you know, their business dies. And they see us, I mean, we've grown 45% year to date. We haven't even gone into any new places, and it's like 45%. So, you know, crazy growth. You have breweries pulling out of areas, you know, that they think, you know, we're wasting time over here. We don't have enough beer as it is. So there's such rapid growth in craft beer, and these guys are obviously capable of brewing whatever they want. You know, they're not, you know, they're smart guys. They just can't wrap their minds around the whole thing. They don't really understand the culture.
You guys under Anheuser-Busch and the big dogs, you ever big friends, I would say. Like you have Russian River, yourself, Sierra Nevada. You're doing collaborations and everything.
Yeah,
so.
well, you know, we were the first brewery in the United States by a long way to do collaborations. We started in 1997, and we had done many collaborations before any other brewery did a single one. So, I mean, for a long time, it was sort of our signature thing, you know, that and food, you know, and collaborative brewing. Now that collaborative brewing has become almost like a fashion, you know, which is great. I think it's cool that you know, everybody's doing it. You know, we've taken our collaborations now more with other food producers, with chefs,